And right now, great pleasure to welcome to our show today two men, writer and the person the book is about. A very fascinating book called American Desperado, My Life from Mafia Soldier to Cocaine Cowboy to Secret Government Asset. It's about the life of John Roberts, and we're also joined by the author, New York Times best-selling author Evan Wright. And gentlemen, thanks for being with us today. How are you both?
Good. You're welcome. Glad to be here.
I got to ask you, John. How do you go from the life that you had to getting with Evan Wright to write a book about it? What was that process?
Well, once I decided I wanted to do something, I went out to Hollywood, and I went with a friend of mine, and we went to a few agents and a few different people, and I tried to, shop it around and see what I could do with the story. And somebody turned me on to a man by the name of Ari Emanuel. And Ari is the one that they do that show Entourage about.
Right.
He's a very famous agent out there. And Ari turned me on to Evan.
And Evan, when you were presented with this project, did you jump right at it, or did you have some trepidation?
No. I, in fact, told my agent no initially because I didn't want to do, when they presented it to me, John has achieved some notoriety. He was in a documentary called The Cocaine Cowboys. Mm-hmm. And I didn't want to do some bogus book celebrating, a cocaine smuggler. I then ended up speaking with John, and the thing that fascinated me about him is he was completely candid with me. He was unapologetic, and he wasn't bragging about his life, but nor was he trying to, pretend that he was repenting for everything he did. He was simply telling it like it was. And after we spoke and I saw that candor in him, I decided as a journalist, as reprehensible as some parts of his life were, it was a worthwhile story to tell. And John also allowed me, as I do in the book, to fact check the things he told me and to verify the stories he told, or even sometimes challenge him. So from that perspective, it was a great story to work on, because John is also a fantastic storyteller. So it was a win-win for me.
Yeah, just reading through it, it really captures your attention. Each chapter kind of leads into the next. But like you said, Evan, the facts are there. You do almost the footnotes of background on John's stories there. So it's a lot of work went into it outside of just tape recording. John, is that how you pretty much started? Just tape recording interviews with him?
Yeah, exactly. We would sit down for hours and talk, and ride in the car and talk with the tape on. That's correct. That's exactly correct.
And those are the scariest moments of my life, because John is an excellent driver, but he always drives between about 60 and 120 miles per hour on the streets.
I live in Florida. I know what it's like, the drivers down here. I hope you're not behind me, John.
Nah, don't worry. You won't see me go by.
That's right. Well, John, obviously a very colorful and interesting life you've led, but the life that is, what you've been through, is not one where you tell stories about what happened. Was that a concern for you to tell these stories? Now, I know you leave some names out of the book, but a lot are in the book. Was that something you worried about?
No, not really. I don't know that anybody wants retribution. It happened so long ago that I'm not getting anybody in trouble that I can see here. Their stories are so old. I can't say. It's possible somebody will get mad, but I certainly hope not.
There's a few stories in there that I think I disagree with John. He talks about using cocaine with L.C. Hastings. This was in the 70s. Mm-hmm. Hastings went on to he's currently a congressman from Florida. He also discusses his relationship with a man named Ricky Prado, who went on to become a CIA officer and a very high-level man in the intelligence community. And John talks about his allegations that he committed a murder with Prado. So there are some people that gave me pause to worry, and therefore I researched those stories with a little extra diligence.
And this book, I understand, is going to be made into a movie as well. I think Mark Wahlberg is set to play you, John. That must be kind of a thrill for you, right?
Yes, it is. I'm grateful, and I'm waiting for that to happen, and Peter Berg is going to direct it, yes.
And I guess you'll be a consultant on set, I would think, just to make sure it's relatively true to the book, right? You want it to be as accurate as possible. I know it has to be entertaining, but you want it to be accurate, right?
I would like it to be, but I see. Not that I follow Hollywood, but Hollywood they take things and they twist them and they make them into what they want to make them into. So it's pretty hard, really.
Yeah, there's a scene in the book from John's story where he, in the early 80s, they were filming Miami Vice at the time that John was a real live drug kingpin. And his girlfriend, Tony Moon, was an actor who appeared in Miami Vice in a small part, and John was on the set and got into an argument with the director because the director was having the drug dealers open the trunks of their cars in broad daylight in the street. And John said, we would never do it that way. And the director said, well, this is how we do it in Hollywood. So, that's enough said. So I think that John's relationship with Hollywood has always been, that was the start of it. It's never been smooth.
Well, it should be a great movie. But just reading through the book, Evan, again, writing this book with John, there was a lot of stories I'm sure you had to leave out as well. How did you kind of choose what to put in, what not to put in?
Well, I tell you, I just know it was so long ago that a lot of stuff came back to me through my mind and a lot of stuff didn't. And I weighed it out and I decided which stories would be more interesting to the people to read, obviously to sell more books. And then there are other stories which may even be better, but I felt better off not putting them in there.
The frustrating thing for me is when we finished the book, I'd be talking to John, and he'd start telling a story that was very interesting, and I'd realize he hadn't told this one for the book. So right up until the end, until a couple of months ago, we were still making changes and putting some things in the book.
I know we just have limited time today, but John, in any kind of sense, was this cathartic for you to do this project, kind of get these stories out and maybe in some way make yourself feel, I don't know, cleanse is the right word, but I mean, you know what I mean? Do you feel better after having told these stories?
No, it doesn't have that effect on me whatsoever. Mm-hmm. As I said, I did it for my son. I did it, I want people to read the book. But as far as cleansing myself or to help myself, no, I don't think it did that at all.
Well, Evan,
John's sense of himself is that he's beyond redemption, so the story is what it is. So.
Well, it's a gritty tale. It's fun. It's actually entertaining to read, despite some of the subject matter. I think the folks are going to love it. It's called American Desperado. And Evan, you got a website. People get a hold of the book. Maybe ask you guys a question or go online. Do you have a place that people go?
Well, Amazon just picked the book as its top pick for the month of November, so, that's a good place to get it. It's also widely available at Barnes & Noble and also at independent booksellers, which I always urge people to support if they can. Great.
We look forward to when the movie comes out. Hopefully have you back on again at that time. But John Roberts and Evan Wright have been our guests. And, gentlemen, thanks for being with us, and good luck to you. We'll talk to you soon.
Thanks very much for having us.